Thelma had always been drawn to the wilderness, even when she was famous and people expected her to vacation in five-star hotels and ski resorts. She would escape to national parks, hiking through ancient forests, and sleeping under a canopy of stars. But now that she was retired from show business and people no longer expected anything of her, she found herself spending all of her time in the woods. She bought a small cabin deep in the Redwood National Park, far from prying eyes and the paparazzi who used to follow her every move. Now her days were filled with the rustle of wind through the redwoods and the symphony of birdsong. Her nights were filled with the hoot of owls and the distant roar of the ocean. It was a melody of nature that she found both haunting and beautiful. One day, Thelma decided to venture into the heart of the jungle. She'd heard rumors of an area so dense that sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy, leaving the forest floor in perpetual twilight. The trees here were ancient giants, their branches intertwining to form a cathedral-like ceiling above her. The air was heavy with the scent of wet earth and decaying leaves. It was a world untouched by human hands, unspoiled by modern development. And it was here in this primeval setting that Thelma felt truly insignificant. She sat on a moss-covered log, allowing the sounds of the jungle to wash over her. A family of deer emerged from the undergrowth, their eyes wide and gentle. They regarded her for a moment, then gracefully melted back into the green embrace of the woods. She realized that out here, in this wild sanctuary, she was just another presence, another part of the landscape. Here, there was no Thelma, the actress. She was simply a fellow dweller in this intricate, ancient ecosystem. As she turned to leave, she noticed a flash of brilliant blue amidst the sea of green. A bluebird, its feathers a vibrant splash of color against the dark trunks, perched on a leafless branch. Its song echoed through the stillness, a haunting melody that seemed to carry echoes of the forest itself. As she watched, mesmerized, the bird took flight, soaring effortlessly through the dense canopy. It disappeared from view, but its song lingered in the air, a reminder of the beauty she had witnessed. It was then that Thelma knew she wasn't just visiting these woods. She was part of them. This realization brought a profound sense of belonging, a feeling of being deeply connected to something much larger than herself. In the solitude of the old-growth redwood forest, Thelma rediscovered a part of herself that she didn't know still existed. Her journey through the woods wasn't just about exploring the great outdoors. It was a journey of self-discovery. She learned that the strength she admired in the ancient trees was mirrored in her own spirit, a resilience forged in the fires of her past. The gentleness of the deer reminded her of the importance of grace and kindness. The vibrant splash of color from the bluebird was a reflection of the joy and wonder that life still held for those who were open to seeing it. Days turned into weeks as Thelma continued to explore her surroundings. She discovered a gurgling stream and spent hours skipping stones across its surface, watching them dance and skip over the water. One evening, as the sun began its slow descent, she came across a clearing bathed in the warm hues of the setting sun. In the center stood a majestic redwood, its bark a canvas of intricate patterns and textures, each line telling stories of years gone by. As she leaned against the tree, feeling its rough bark against her skin, she closed her eyes and let out a long breath. In that moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the gift of the forest, for its healing touch, and for the strength and wisdom it offered. She knew then that she wasn't merely living in the woods. She was becoming part of its story, a story that had been unfolding for centuries and would continue long after she was gone. News of her whereabouts eventually spread to the outside world, carried by the wind through the trees and whispered by the birds on their travels. A young girl named Lily and her father stumbled upon Thelma's cabin while hiking in the park. They were avid fans and couldn't believe their luck when they saw her sitting on the porch, her hair streaked with silver, her face lined with the wisdom of years. When Thelma saw the awe on the girl's face, she smiled, remembering a time when she too had looked up to actors with wide-eyed admiration. She invited them in, and over cups of steaming hot chocolate, she shared stories of her adventures in the forest, of the deer she had befriended, and the song of the bluebird that echoed in her soul. Lily listened, captivated, her imagination running wild. For her, Thelma wasn't just a famous actress. She was a kindred spirit, a fellow explorer of the wilderness. And in that small cabin, surrounded by the scent of pine and wood smoke, Lily felt a spark of inspiration ignite within her. As the day faded and it was time for the father and daughter to leave, Lily hesitated. She wanted to stay longer, to learn more from Thelma, who seemed to embody the spirit of the forest itself. When she finally looked up, her eyes shining with determination, Thelma knew that the woods had worked their magic once again. In sharing her love for the wilderness, Thelma had planted a seed in the young girl's heart. A seed that would grow into a deep appreciation for nature and a passion for exploration that would stay with Lily for the rest of her life. And so the legacy of the woods continued, passing from one generation to the next, carried on the wings of birds and whispered in the rustle of leaves. For the forest was more than just a place. It was a teacher, a healer, and a friend. It was a living, breathing entity that had embraced Thelma, healed her wounds, and shown her the beauty of simplicity. It had welcomed her into its embrace and made her a part of its timeless story. And as she stood there watching Lily and her father disappear into the trees, Thelma knew that the forest would continue to do the same for others, sharing its wisdom, its strength, and its beauty with anyone who was willing to listen. The years rolled by like the changing seasons. Thelma's hair turned from brown to silver, her face etched with the passage of time. Yet her eyes, they remained the same, sparkling with the joy of discovery and the wonder of the natural world. She continued to explore the Redwood National Park, each hike bringing new insights, new connections to the rhythms of the forest. She befriended an old woman who lived deep in the woods, someone who seemed to know the secrets of the trees and the language of the birds. She shared with Thelma ancient tales of the area, stories that spoke of the spiritual connection between humans and nature. These stories became part of Thelma's own narrative, weaving together the past, present, and future of the forest. One crisp autumn morning, Thelma decided to revisit the majestic redwood tree where she had shared hot chocolate with Lily and her father. Years ago, she wanted to see how the tree was holding up and if it still stood as a silent sentinel in the clearing. As she approached, she noticed something new, a sapling growing at the base of the giant. It was small, yet resilient, reaching up towards the sunlight that filtered through its parents' branches. In that moment, Thelma understood that the forest was not static. It was ever evolving, with new life arising and old life finding renewal. The clearing had become a place of continuity, a testament to the enduring spirit of the redwood. It was as if the forest itself had recognized her connection to it, welcoming her back and showing her this new growth. Years later, when Thelma's hair was mostly white and her steps slower, she knew it was time to pass on the legacy of the woods. She left the cabin, its silence echoing with memories, and moved into a cozy cottage in a nearby town. She used her remaining days to share her experiences through storytelling and mentoring young naturalists. Her cabin, now empty, stood as a symbol of her connection to the forest, a beacon for those who, like her, found solace and strength in the wilderness. Although her body might have been slowing down, her spirit remained as boundless as the ancient redwoods themselves, her love for the forest continuing to inspire and guide those who knew her story. And so the tale of Thelma, the actress who found her true calling in the heart of the Redwood National Park, was passed down through the generations, carried on the whispers of the wind and the songs of birds. Her story became a part of the forest's lore, a reminder of the transformative power of nature and the enduring spirit of those who find their place in the wild. The jungle was a tapestry of greens, a rich emerald woven with jade and olive threads. Towering trees draped in moss formed a cathedral ceiling, their branches intertwining in a silent, ancient dance. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying wood, the perfume that spoke of life and death, of growth and renewal. Sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, dappled the forest floor in shifting patterns, painting and replaying an eternal mosaic of light and shade. The symphony of the jungle was conducted by unseen musicians. A choir of chirping birds trilled their melodies from hidden nests, while the rustling leaves provided a gentle, wordless accompaniment. The distant calls of unseen creatures added a haunting harmony to the orchestra of the wild. Here, in the heart of the untamed, Thelma felt a profound stillness settle within her, a tranquility she'd never known in the chaos of her world. She wandered through the emerald labyrinth, her senses on high alert, drinking in the sights and sounds of this primordial world. The gnarled roots of the giant trees seemed like the wrinkled faces of wise old men, their eyes closed in eternal contemplation. She reached out to touch their rough surfaces, seeking their wisdom, their connection to the earth, their strength and resilience. As she ventured deeper into the jungle's embrace, Thelma felt a growing sense of insignificance. Her human concerns, her worries about her place in the grand scheme of things, all of it seemed to shrink and fade away. Here, amidst the giants, she was but a tiny speck, a visitor in a realm that had existed long before her kind had set foot in this world. And yet, paradoxically, it was in this realization of her smallness that Thelma felt a sense of liberation. Freed from the burden of her own importance, she could simply be present, a student eager to learn from the masters of the wild. Then she saw them, creatures that had never heard of her, cared less about her fame or fortune. A family of monkeys swung effortlessly through the trees, their playful chatter echoing through the green. They were curious about the newcomer, but not in a way that invaded her space. They observed her with intelligent eyes, tilting their heads in curiosity, but then went back to their games, including her in their world without a hint of adulation or awe. It was a revelation for Thelma. Here in this primeval world, she was just another living being, neither revered nor scorned. It was a refreshing change from the world she knew, where her every move was scrutinized, where people craved her attention or tried to tear her down. Here in the green embrace of the jungle, there were no flashing lights, no screaming fans, no one trying to get close just because of who she was. And in that, Thelma found a strange sort of freedom. She could shed the weight of her celebrity, the burden of expectations, and just be herself. As the sun began its slow retreat, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Thelma knew it was time to return. She had only glimpsed a fraction of the jungle's wonders, but what she had seen had touched her deeply. Walking back to the edge of the emerald labyrinth, she felt a pang of sadness at having to leave. But deep within her, a new understanding had taken root. The jungle had taught her humility, reminding her that she was part of something much larger than herself. In the tapestry of life, her thread was but one among countless others. And in that realization, she found a profound sense of peace. Back in the world of flashing lights and adoring crowds, Thelma carried a piece of the jungle within her, a reminder of the quiet strength and enduring beauty of the wild. Thelma the unicorn loved everything sparkly and glamorous. She spent hours painting her already white coat with glittery makeup, convinced that looking beautiful would make her happy. But deep down, Thelma felt there was something more to life than just glitter and glamour. One day, while practicing her ballet in the forest, she met a wise old chameleon named Kaleido. Unlike other chameleons who could change colors to blend in with their surroundings, Kaleido chose to paint himself in the most vibrant hues. Red for courage, blue for sadness, and green for happiness. When Thelma saw him, she gasped, "Why aren't you blending in with the trees? You'd be safe from predators if you weren't so colorful." Kaleido tilted his head and asked, "Thelma, why do you cover yourself with so much glitter?" Don't you think it would be easier to just be your natural white self? Thelma sighed. I want to be beautiful, but without the glitter, I don't know if I am. Kaleido hopped closer and said, the only time you should paint yourself is if you want to express who you truly are, not to please others or to get their approval. True beauty comes from within. It's your unique sparkle. At first, Thelma didn't understand what he meant. She had always painted herself with glitter because she thought that's what made her beautiful. But as she looked at Kaleido, she realized that he was right. She wasn't being her true self by covering up her white coat with glitter. She liked the way she looked with it, sure, but it wasn't an expression of who she really was inside. So how do I find my true sparkle? She asked. Kaleido smiled. It's already inside you, Thelma. You just have to find a way to bring it out. He then began to dance, leaping and twirling through the forest, his scales flashing in the sunlight. Being yourself is the most beautiful thing you can do, Thelma. It takes courage to be different, to be yourself, but that's what makes you truly beautiful. As Thelma watched him dance, she felt a new sense of confidence grow inside her. Maybe she didn't need glitter to be beautiful. Maybe her natural self was beautiful enough. With newfound determination, Thelma started to shed her artificial glitter, revealing the pure white unicorn underneath. At first it felt strange, but as she continued to dance, she began to love the way she looked and felt. She wasn't trying to be someone else. She was being herself. Suddenly, a group of glamorous unicorns galloped past. They were on their way to a grand ball in the castle, an event Thelma had been invited to, but she had forgotten all about it. The leader of the pack was Fifi, the most fashionable unicorn in the kingdom. She turned to Thelma and said, "Why aren't you getting ready for the ball? You're not going to wear that, are you? You'll be the laughing stock of the kingdom." Thelma shook her head. "I won't be going to the ball, Fifi. I've decided to stop painting my coat with glitter." The other unicorns gasped. They couldn't imagine Thelma without her glitter. Fifi snorted. "Well, good luck finding a husband if you don't look beautiful. No one will want to marry a plain white unicorn." Thelma knew Fifi was wrong, but she also knew that proving her wrong would take more than just a pretty dress. She needed to show them that being yourself is the most beautiful thing you can do. With a determined glint in her eye, Thelma danced even harder, her white coat shimmering in the sunlight. She was no longer trying to be someone else. She was being herself, and that, she realized, was what made her truly beautiful. From that day on, Thelma lived as her natural self, no longer caring about what others thought of her. She became known throughout the kingdom as the most courageous unicorn. Not the most beautiful, but the most courageous. And that, she knew, was an even greater honor.